Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. It's Renee Barabal, the Practical Shaman, and I'm coming to you today with an exploration. And I'm calling it an exploration because if you remember correctly, that I'm exploring these Windwalker Wisdom Oracle cards right alongside of you. For years, oh, and I thought I'd grab one. I have the little wind sack, and if you ordered the toolkit, you have one of those, and there's 32 wind spirit cards in there. But the new deck has 64 cards, a different book than, well, put it this way, it has an additional book from the Winds of Spirit, which I'm hearing from people who are buying the Oracle that they really think it's time to buy Winds of Spirit too if they haven't, because it helps you go deeper. But this one comes with its own little 125-page book that's quite informative. And so it's an exploration because I'm there like, okay, I know what I've done in the past for the beginning of the year, but what do I want to do now? What do I want to do? And what do I want to teach other people to do? Just knowing what I've known and what I've learned from my own experience about, when I pull 12 cards, I have a whole spread. But is that really the best way to start if you're just starting to work with these cards? Like I just heard from a friend of mine who bought the deck yesterday, and she said, "Oh no, what do I do with this? I just pulled a card and I got the doldrums." Hmm. And so I smiled because the year that Wins the Spirit came out, the card that I had pulled for the year was the doldrums. And I thought, like, how on earth could I be launching my first book, a Hay House book at that, and getting the doldrums? Because in my vision of my world, that year was going to be, I was going to have the wind in my sails, and I was going to, be on all the big stages. I was going to become a, New York Times best-selling author. I became a Amazon best-selling author, and I did get a Nautilus Gold Award. But in my mind, I was thinking like, well, I'm stalled in the water, just like in the doldrums. So the doldrums are two places along the equator where the wind doesn't blow. And usually what that means is that for the sailors, they had to offload the extra stuff on the ship. They had to offload the things that weren't serving them. And for us, if we get the doldrums right at the beginning of the year, it means that there might be some more tending to our stockpile of stuff that we need to look at. And for me, with my book coming out, it, it was about looking of the entitlements and the things that I just expected that would have come right along with what I was getting, instead of, really being present with what was and how it is, and, what it was going to take. In fact, these last 6 years between the first book and the new Oracle deck, I had to learn to work with the wind. I had to gather a body of knowledge. I had to gather enough students. And then once we had all of that in place, the winds just graced us with 32 more wins. Now, great, we've learned a lot of practices, but like I said, I'm here with you. I'm learning how to use this new Oracle right alongside of you. So I just want to say that up front. So when I was getting ready to talk about the first the first reading for the year, I realized that it wasn't a one-time reading. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to spread out all the cards and I'm going to get my reading for the year, but it was more involved. It had steps, it had learning steps for me and learning steps for you. But one of the things that we'll do, because we're talking about our year, so let's make this. I think of my friend Hank Wesselman used to say he used to light the candle and he put it in an empty, cleaned out tuna fish can, and it was in the tuna can. So, however you have a candle, light it. This is still one of the candles that from the I Am Winter Solstice Symposium, which if you didn't spend time going to, you can order the whole collection. And I will be sharing it in the Wind Oracle Circle this year, the videos that I think that are appropriate to the work that we're doing. Okay, so then, maybe we'll light a little sage. We've got our candle lit. Let's do a little clearing. This beautiful sage that I gather at the top of the hill. It's native to the desert here where I live, and I think that's part of the importance, and that I learned this medicine by doing a NEPI. So you don't have to use sage where you are, but this is one of the medicines that I have in my tool bundle. Okay. And I wanted to be outside today. So I apologize if there's noise and it's bothering you. It always bothers me. And I think back to what one of the gurus said: if the noise is bothering you, that's probably your energy going out to bother the noise. So I'm going to take that. So I also have agua florita, which is really potent. Whew, clear off. Just going to clear off all the stuff. Whew. And then I'm going to use my wind whistle because I want to call in the winds that are going to work with us this year and the winds that are going to work with me. So let's call to the winds. I'm facing, that's west. I'm facing east. So I think I will call to Eurus, the east wind. Oops. Eurus, be here with us. Be here with us today as we get ready to do this spread for the new year, or actually the preparation to do a spread for the new year. This is step one. Thanks for teaching me, for giving me the mind to stop and ask you, how do I do this? How do I work with these winds? That may be different for each of us, but help me remember how it is that I work with the winds. I'm calling to the south wind. Notice, be here with me. Be here with this group. Everyone who's going to listen to this, everyone who's going to be using it to train with, join us here today. Join us in this sacred circle, this large community of wind believers who are gathering to learn how to work with the oracle. Zephyrus, the west wind, come here and dance with us, play with us. Help us to remember our joy, the fun of all of this. The endings that we just left as we walked from 2024, and now we're walking into a new year. Boreas, the north wind, you that lives beyond the furthest mountain, be with us. Be with us as we learn to work in community, in spirit, and with the heart of the wind. Thank you. So in both Winds of Spirit and in the Windwalker's Wisdom Oracle Guide, there's directions on calling in the spirits. You can use your own or use mine. But the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was preparing for the year spread. And this is why I think it's more than just a one-time sit down and do it, although you might want to after you get through all of this. But yesterday, I went through and I divided all of the directional cards, all of the dynamic cards, and then all of the cultural, all of the regional cards. And so I ended up with 4 stacks. There's 12 directional cards, which is new from the book. There's 10 intensity cards, and there's 44 cultural regional cards. Okay, let's call them regional cards. I don't want to offend anyone, but these winds come from the regions, and the wind that blows here today in La Quinta is going to reach you in LA, probably this afternoon, and probably all the way over. We have people in Australia in the next couple of days, in Canada. I don't think the winds are on strike in your country, and I think the postal strike is ended, but I know there's a lot of you who haven't quite received your cards yet. And if you can use the wind spinner and the wind clan, and maybe that's the reading you're supposed to get for now. All right, so what I decided to do was that I was going to, I remember I was telling you about my friend who just received the doldrums. After I received the doldrums, and I don't know if it was because I was like just so surprised and so like, okay, what am I going to do with this for the year? I had removed the doldrums from the directional cards for the year. You can't fool Mother Nature and you can't fool the winds, but that's what I did. So what I've done is I put them back in here. I put them back in this spread. And so I'm gonna shake up, stir up, shuffle these directional cards, okay? I'm gonna do that with the wind intensity cards. And then I'm going to mix up the regional winds. And what I'm going to do for my first reading for the year, and you could, I know some people already went and did the annual spread from the book, but this is how I'm getting to know the cards. I'm not, I've been working with the winds now for about 10 years, and I'm not like, I understand they're going to work with me the way they're going to work with me. So if I start with this directional wind for the year, what is my wind intensity for the year, and give me the regional wind for January, that's plenty to work with. Because what a lot of people will do is like they'll read, oh, this is what that says, but the difference between reading about a card and getting to know the wind is monumental. So when I pull a directional card, that's the directional wind that I'm going to work with for the entire year. Now, that's not to say directional cards won't come up again in the year, but I'm going to pull a card for the year, and because it's the group card, I'm going to pull the group card for the year. Well, this is really kind of crazy because my friend, and I don't want to name her, that I've known for a long, long time, we also got the doldrums. So in the action is suspended and its stillness prevails in a breathless pause. Now, one of the blessings about this breathless pause is that I believe the magic happens in the gap. The magic happens between when one, like in the time and space continuum, in the middle of it, there's this gap space. And that's where we have access to magic. That's where we have access to timelessness. That's where we have access to really make change. So as a shamanic practitioner, if I'm working out with somebody, I want to go into the space between, all of their construct of what they believe, spirit, and somewhere in, that somewhere right around in here, I want to do that work, and that's gap work. All right, so what's intensity? So if there's no wind blowing, because it's at the south-southeast doldrums, which is the south-southeast, as if you know anything from winds of spirit, you know that the south is, the east is memories, mind, memories, and beliefs, and then the south is about needs, desires, and wants. So somehow between starting something new and what we desire, there's another pause. Now, I think that maybe for me, if I've learned the lesson, because right now I've got Windwalker Wisdom Oracle cards on their way because they sold out. And then I have a Pilgrim's Guide to Walking Wisdom coming out next month. So hopefully I've learned that breathless pause is a wonderful place to create something new from. Instead of, oh my God, I'm not going to move forward this year. No, I'm going to create magic in that pause. So what is the intensity of the wind that's going to assist us with this? Wow. So the wind that we've got is the intermittent wind, the wind of empathy, the respond like a gentle breeze. Now, this is really important because how perfect to go with this breathless pause that every once in a while we'll get a little intermittent wind, and we'll get to work with that wind, and maybe we'll offload some things off of our ship, that isn't really serving us well, and then we'll get a little breeze to move forward, and then we may have to really dig deep into what's in our heart's desire, what's important. I know all this stuff, but what do I need to do in order to take what I know and bring it into my heart? It's like the eagle meets the condor at the heart. All right, what is the regional wind that we're going to get? Now, I said this is the group wind, but I'm happy to work with these winds for the year. Ah, a wind that I know better than some. This is Madame Feng Popo. She's the wind of courage, and it's about facing our fears. Now, imagine you're in one of those breathless pauses, and think back to when the sailors didn't have electricity on their boats or didn't have motor power, and here they were in this still water, right? And then they have to worry, like they have cattle and livestock and horses on the boat, and you start tossing over some of these things that are extraneous and they're weighting the boat down. You probably get a fear like, well, is there going to be am I going to eat? Am I going to starve? Am I going to be taken care of? Well, that's really crazy, because as soon as I asked that question, this little minor little breeze came through. And I think that's what we're being told, is that this is the year that we're got to be looking for the intermittent winds. Like when that fear comes up, like, let the wind take it. When there's no movement, let that breeze move you just enough to turn your ship. And I think that that's really, really a profound lesson. So in some of the future lessons this year, because we're going to have new lessons every month in the Windwalkers Oracle Circle, which you can still join, because I'm probably going to share this because people are curious. But the Windwalker Oracle Circle's meeting every month, and that will be a private group where you can actually ask questions. There'll be teachings. I'll be sharing these other lessons along the way. But this is like a good collective reading, and I'll put it in the Wind Clan so that people who really are there, but they're curious and they don't really know what to do with this, can start to play with this information as well. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop for today. I'm going to stop with this first lesson, and I'm really going to sit with this southeast doldrums, suspended action, and I'm going to be taking wind walks, looking for those intermittent winds. How are those intermittent winds going to show up for me? And then I'm going to look deep when I get like, wow, this isn't moving fast enough, or I'm not getting what I want. I'm going to have the courage to make a different change. I hope this was helpful. I'm Renee, the Practical Shaman, and I look forward to being with you all year long, learning to work with this oracle.